Hi everyone, my name is Juan Carlos Valdez, and this is our week one video, our intro to After Effects. As you can see here, I have After Effects already open, and this is the home page, this screen right here. As soon as you open After Effects, this opens up, and it shows you in this section down here, previous files you have worked on, so you can quickly just click on any one of these. Right up here, this is a place where you can go and watch some tutorials from Adobe, and right over here is where we can start a new project or open a new one. When you open project, it can go to either one of these files or some other place in your computer. But we're gonna go ahead and hit new project. Here in After Effects, we have this workspace that is by default. Right up here at the top where it says window, there's workspace. And these predetermined layouts for anything you want, where it says animation or effects, motion tracking. Standard is the one that's currently on right now. You can actually create a whole new workspace because each part of these windows here in After Effects are mobile, are modular. You can move them around. So, for example, if you activate an area, you'll see that it'll turn blue like this. Right here, this is our info bar. Over here is our effects and presets section. This one here that's highlighted is our viewport or our composition. Over here is our bin, and this is our timeline. And just like here, I can click and drag that. You can see how nothing is really changing other than some these highlighted purple things. That's because I'm dragging the preview bar, and I can actually place it like right here, and it'll attach. I can remove it again and place it uh, right there, however I want to, or maybe down here, like that. If you like this layout, you can always save it, or you can change it up however you like to. You can put it maybe over here, and it's a variety of different things, so you can place it wherever you like. Okay, I'm gonna place it back right up there for now. Okay, and anytime you see a little arrow like this is because there's more tabs added to that. So I'm just gonna move some around like this. Uh, Let me grab this one and expand it up like that. That's how I prefer it. Okay, and then you can always either go back to workspace and you can change it. If you hit animation, it'll change to that format. If you go to, let's say, essential graphics, it'll change it that way. If you go back to uh, standard, it'll come back to how you had it before. You can even just reset standard to layout level to exactly how it was before. Right above everything is the menus. So we have file, edit, composition. A lot of it is grayed out right now because there's nothing in here to use. Um, this is the homepage button. So if you click on that, it would actually bring us back to this. We don't need it right now. This next one is the selection tool or move tool. Now, just like most Adobe products, it shows you the name of the tool if you hover your mouse over the tool. So right there is selection tool. It also tells you the hotkey for it. I suggest to learn the hotkeys. It makes you faster and more efficient and more proficient in the software usage. The next one is the hand tool. The hand tool is to move your timeline. Okay, when you zoom in into the timeline, you can move it around. The selection tool here is to move elements inside your composition. So don't confuse these two things. Okay, this one is to move stuff. This is only really to move the hand tool. So H is for that. Also spacebar can be done that way, but spacebar is also play. So the other menu or the tools options up here are grayed out for now. Until we bring something in, it'll activate. Right in here, this is our bin, and just remember, when you highlight an area, it turns blue like this, so you know where you're at. So in the bin is where we bring in our elements, and the things that we can bring into After Effects are things like Photoshop files, uh, image files like JPEGs, Targas, TIFFs, audio files, video files, and a variety of different things. To bring in things, we can either go into file import, and you can go to file here. Control I is the shortcut, okay? or you can double click right here, this area here where my mouse is circling. Double click and it'll take you to the last folder you're working in. Okay, so for example, I uploaded this video onto Brightspace, and so you can play with this video. And I was creating something not too long ago, a little spooky video for a music video, and I was using some elements like this. As you can see here, there's an After Effects file. Let me expand this a little bit more. These are some images. Okay, there's a Photoshop file, and this is a video. And you can tell by the icons what's what. What's very important too is where they import as. Actually, right here you can see what type of file these are. So if I click on that, it will say After Effects. Over here it says Photoshop. This one's an AVI, and so on. So that's a JPEG like that. Right below it, where it says import as, it comes in as different things. For the most part, your videos will come in as footage. Your Photoshop files can come in as 3 different options here: footage, composition, retain layer sizes, and composition. We're going to go over this in another video. So on this one that's called Cemetery Bats, I'm going to hit import, and there it is. All right. Now to use this right now, I can drag it in here and it'll show you the video. I'm going to undo that real quick. Okay, undo is Control Z, like most things. But I need to talk about compositions. Okay, so a composition is our work area, is where we create our things. So if you go to composition, new composition, Control N is a shortcut. It'll bring up this window where we can name our composition. We can use a preset. We'll determine the aspect ratio. HD 720 is a common one. High depth one will be HDTV, right down here, 1080. Also take note of these set of numbers right after the resolution size. Those are frame rates. So this is this is 29.97, but it's technically 30 frames per second. This one's 25. That's for European television. Down here, 24. That's film. Okay, and so on and so on. So let me just go back to. Actually, I wanted to go to the HD 720. That's a name for that. This is the aspect ratio, actual size in pixels. So the width is 1280 and height is 720. If you want to lock your aspect ratio so that when you change the size of it, it will change accordingly with the height and width at the same time. You can leave that on or off. For right now, we're just looking at the whole interface and the workflow of After Effects. Right here, where it says start time code and duration, the duration is how long the video is going to be. Okay, the start time code is when it begins. Now, normally you can leave it at zeros. It's not a big deal. Sometimes people will put it at 1 second for whatever reason, but zero is fine. You can always edit the video to make it shorter if you need to. The duration is where it's important, really, because it can help us to determine the length of the video. We can also shorten that while we're working. We can change the settings as much as we need to. And everything else you can pretty much leave the same. We can hit OK. Now, before I bring in this video and work on it, I want to show you, I'm going to delete this right now because I want to show you another way of bringing in an After Effects composition, which is right here in our bin, down at the bottom, right next to a little rocket ship icon, this one that looks like a tiny film strip. If you click on that, it brings up the same settings, okay, the same thing that we just had. So there was 2 ways: composition setting, new composition, or Control N. So that's already 2 right there. The third is right here. Okay, clicking on that. And right here, it's going to show you nothing. But when we have a composition on, and I'm going to go ahead and just hit OK right there. Right down here, this is our timeline. You can right click and go to composition settings from here, which will bring up the same window, but this is not a creation composition. This is to change the composition. So if you, which is right here as well, under composition settings, Control K. If you ever need to make a change to your composition, so for example, right here, my timeline, it starts at 0 and it goes all the way to 20 seconds. Okay, this little blue arrow with a line, this is called the time indicator. Just so you know, this is how we change some things in our animation, okay, or in our effects, or we have to go to a certain time code in here. So we just click and drag it. wherever we want to. Now, so like I was saying, if you need to change a setting, you can either go to composition settings, Control K, or right click, and because you're spending a lot of time down here. So up here there's a lot of important things, but for something as easy to go into your composition settings is right here, and you can change the duration of this to, let's say, just 10 seconds. We'll do half. So we can go in here and just type in 10 for 10, and you'll see that it changed our timeline down here. Okay. Now, before we move on to bringing in that video again, I want to talk about right in this area here. This is our time code and our frames. Okay, so it's very important that you understand how to read a time code. So the first two set of zeros right here are frames. The next two are seconds. The next two are minutes. And the last one is hours. Okay, or hours. You can actually change at what point this time indicator will appear on our timeline by typing it in. So you can say, like, I want it to be at 5 seconds, and it'll jump over to 5. Okay, so if you know exactly you need to be at that point, you can go ahead and type it. Also, take note of the cursor. Right now it's an arrow, but when you move on top of the time code, it turns into a hand with the two little black arrows on the finger. If you click and drag it, you can actually drag and move the time indicator like that. Okay, so that's very important. So again, you can type it in, okay, just by clicking on it. You can type it in however you want. You can click and drag it, okay, or you can just grab the time indicator and move it there. Okay, so different options, and which is good because it helps you make things, you know, a little bit better. You know, sometimes you want to like get exact. You type it in. Okay, now the video here, we can drag it into our timeline. Now it's very important that I show you this step, and take close note of this. When I brought in my video, okay, and notice that this box appears, or this rectangle. This rectangle is actually the video, and I have my move tool or my selection tool selected so I can move my video like this. Okay, now when it appeared, it came out like this, so it's actually bigger than our composition. So I can shrink this down if I need to, and you can just grab those boxes there to scale it. I'm using also the scroll on my mouse to move or zoom in and out like this. And I'm holding down the mouse up here, okay, as the hand tool. See, the hand tool moves the entire composition. It's not moving the video like this. Okay, so it's very important that you know the difference. So I'm holding on the space bar and moves it like this. You can press H and it'll also grab it there. Press V and you're moving now the video. Okay, now the problem here is that my composition is bigger. Okay, that's not necessarily a problem. You can actually scale this by, let's go to right click on the video right here. You can also do it down here. Okay, on this bar is the video. There's the name of the video. It tells you what type of video it is. Okay, and this bar is the video. And so you can actually right click here, you can right click here, or you can right click on the video. Go to transform, okay, and then we can use this option, fit to comp, which will shrink the video and to fit the composition size. Now that's very helpful. It allows us to work with inside our composition. Be careful with that. If your video and your composition are not compatible, meaning that the ratios could be a little off, you may end up squishing the video itself, so it'll look like a little bit elongated in some parts. So to avoid something like that, let's go ahead and delete this. So just select your video down here in our timeline and just hit delete, goes away. And we're also going to delete our comp that we created there. And what we're going to do is, like, remember this button here, the little film strip where we can create a new composition? Well, if you click and drag your video onto that little button, click on that, what it does is that it creates a composition based on the video size. So now when you right click here, let's go to the settings. Okay, remember we originally had was this one, the HD 720. Okay, and what that was, the width was I think it was 1280. Let me see if yeah, 1280. And look what happened over there. See, I'm just move it out of the way. See what happened there. So it looked like how it was before. Okay, you can leave it like that. You can work that way. But if you wanted to make it more of the actual size where it's fitting inside a composition, then that's how you would do it. Okay, you can also change the duration here. You can put 20, you can put 10, whatever you want. I'm gonna leave it at 20 for now and hit OK. And then down here, when I activate the timeline, when I hit spacebar, it plays. Notice that there's a green line forming right here. This is a pre-render. Okay, so when this is full across, it's going to play at real time. It's currently playing at real time because this video isn't very large or long, and so it's not lagging my computer. So it's playing just fine as it is. And then this red line is just telling us where we're at right now in the, this ends up disappearing when you stop. See, that the time indicator goes to that same spot right there. So you can see it's going in. And so this is, again, just a video of a cemetery, you know, bats. It was for Halloween, and it's playing just fine. Okay, so again, you can click and drag. When we do this, this is called scrubbing. So I'm scrubbing along on our timeline, and I can do this for many reasons, like to test the animation by hand. You know, I just can go back and forth in one spot, see if it looks good, or I can find a spot where I want to do an edit or something like that. I want to make a change. Like there's a bat that kind of like appears out of nowhere right there. See right there? You know, maybe I don't like that, so I'll cut it before that happens or something like that. Speaking of this bar, this is the timeline. So if you were to go and move your mouse to the end, on either end, if you go to either end of here or here, you can click and drag the that bar so that you can make a short edit. So right now you see nothing. That's because I pretty much cut that piece away, and so the animation now begins over here, or the video starts over here. So what's visible here is absolutely nothing. If I were to bring in another video, the same video here, I can bring in two. Wait, sorry. Oh, I'm bringing the composition. Sorry, there it is. Okay, so here's the other one. I can move. You can actually move this as well to begin wherever you like. Okay, so right now, it's gonna, as soon as I reach over here, it's gonna cut, boom, like that. Okay, it's a hard cut, but you can see that there's a jump in those bats right there. Okay, so you can move this around. You can actually shorten it. This is non-destructive, which means that you can easily recover any of your edits. So for example, I can just bring it back like this. Let me go ahead and delete the bottom one. So you can move this either way. Let's say I just want, you know, a portion of this video like this, and I'm left with, I could put another video here, I can put some text, I can put whatever I want. Right now it's just blank space, it's transparent. But then when it gets to here, it reveals itself. So if I bring in another video or another object, so for example, let's bring in this candles or the moon. This is the moon. Okay, and hit import. All right. Another way to bring in objects is to drag it in from your folder into here. So if I take this bats moons and just place it underneath, right now nothing changed visibly because this layer, which is the cemetery with the black and white one here, is on top. So whatever's on top will be visible. Now here where I made an edit, as you can see, right there, if I can move over here, there's the bats. Okay, see the bats are coming in and then they scale out. Notice the size of this. Okay, so again, if I right click on the video, transform, fit to comp, there it is. Now it fits a little bit better, goes right in there, cuts to that, cuts back to this. That's only because I scaled down this first video that we have. Now After Effects, like other software that holds layers, should always be renamed so that you keep organized. It's very important that you do that because just like in Photoshop, you tend to use a lot of layers, and if you don't name them, it gets confusing, it gets lost. Another way to keep organized without just changing the names is right here in After Effects. You see these two squares. They're right now this cyan color. If you click on it, or it was aqua, you can change that color to, let's say, red. Okay, so now I know that this red layer is my bats with the moon, but this aqua color is the bats and the witch and the cemetery. So that's a good way to know what's what. All right, so it's very important that you not only name properly, but you are organized. Also, if you need to change the name, instead of going back into your original file, changing the name, re-importing it, what you can do is just press enter on your keyboard, the enter next to the letters, not the enter close to the numpad. If you just click on it like that, and you can go ahead and change and say bats, cemeteries, and witch. Okay, like that, and press enter again, and then you've there, go ahead and change the name. Notice that it didn't change up here, it just changed in our timeline. Okay, another way to do a quick edit or a cut, unlike Premiere, which is an Adobe product that's used for editing, there's the tools are a little bit different in here. Okay, but to cut this, we do Control Shift D as in dog, and what it does is splits that video into two parts. Let me hide the one on the bottom. Okay, and so it splits it two parts. Now what it did is just really made a duplicate. It didn't really cut it. Okay, so don't think that you cut that piece into two and you destroyed that video. You did not. It's actually two pieces, because in this bottom one here you can see that I can reconstruct that video and reconstruct the one on top just like normal. Now I have two videos of the same. Okay, but what I'm doing here, I just deleted by pressing delete on the keyboard. What I'm actually doing when I hit Control Shift D as in dog is I'm making a duplicate, but it splits at that point, so I can have now an edit happen here. Okay, now earlier I turned off this little eye, which is the visibility. Okay, and if your video has audio, which this does, you can turn off the audios there. All right, we'll talk about more of these things in another video, but I'm showing you the basic stuff right now. Okay, now let's go ahead and delete all of this real quick, and I'm going to bring in here another object, which is a JPEG, and let's bring in the skeleton creep. This is here. Okay, so the skeleton creep, you can click and drag that into your composition, and here it is. There, you can scale it like this just by pulling on it. If you hold down Shift, it'll scale proportionately. Okay, so it's going to stay like that. Now the reason I'm bringing this is because I want to show you a basic tool in here that people tend to get confused with another one, but it's right up here. And remember I mentioned earlier that these wouldn't appear until we brought in something in. Now that they're here, I'm not going to discuss everything in this video right now. I just wanted to discuss this one here, which is called a rotation tool, and it's with a W. Okay, so think of wotation, kind of like Elmer Fudd right here. Just click on that, and what it does is that it rotates your image. Okay, just like this. It rotates at this pivot point right here. This pivot point can be moved, which is using this tool, the anchor behind, or the pan behind anchor point tool. If you click on that, and you can click and drag that to a new location right here, and just leave it there. Go back to your rotation tool, and then it's going to pivot from there. Okay, so this is very useful later on when we have different types of animations. We're going to create like a puppet digitally here in After Effects and in Photoshop. And when you place these pivots, it helps us to create different effects. Okay, that's it for today. I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. I want you just to play around with After Effects. I have provided some rendering videos on how to render out of After Effects, and using also Adobe Media Encoder. So go ahead and watch those videos, and I'm also going to share another video there in the weekly lectures about how to use After Effects, very, very basic stuff. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and feel free to contact me within the questions for the professor section, and also during my office hours. Okay, so I don't want to overwhelm you right now with too much stuff. Also, make sure you do read the first chapter in the After Effects Classroom in a Book. That book is a great book. It's an updated version from many years ago. Every version of After Effects comes out with that same book, and it's a really great resource. So make sure you do read it, okay? And look out for more videos. As I mentioned in my welcome video, that I will be providing other videos as we go along. So keep returning back to previous weeks so they can see new content. Okay, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good one, guys. Bye.